and wind. They have solar panels on their homes, they have wind turbines on their property, and they are beginning to produce energy en masse. Now, the fixed cost of producing solar and wind in Europe is going down very quickly because it's on an exponential curve, just like computers. Remember, computers cost millions of dollars when I was a young kid. This year, the Chinese announced a $25 smartphone, which will connect the remaining 50% of the human race in the next few years. But they're on an exponential curve, solar and wind, just like computers. A solar watt of electricity, I remember in 1970s, cost $60, $66 to produce 1 solar watt of electricity. Today it's 66 cents to produce a solar watt. So we're seeing solar and wind energy on an exponential curve, and it's going to be as cheap as the Chinese smartphones in 15 years from now, for sure. Just has to stay on the same curve. But even before you pay back the fixed cost of introducing solar and wind harvesting technology, the marginal cost is free. The sun shining over your fab lab is free. The wind coming up against your fab lab building is free. You just have to capture it. The geothermal heat coming up from underneath your building is free. You just have to harvest it. So we now have millions of people actually now producing green electricity at near zero marginal cost. I'm always reminded that the nuclear industry promised energy too cheap to meter. They never did. But we now have, in real time, millions and millions of small businesses, neighborhood associations actually doing that. And 3 weeks ago on Sunday, some of you know I advised the German government, Chancellor Merkel, and the EU. But 3 weeks ago, the German government announced on Sunday that 75% of all the electricity powering the German economy that Sunday was solar and wind at near zero marginal cost. So much electricity that the prices went to negative the entire day, off the chart. So, excuse me? 3D printed products. We now have hundreds of thousands of hobbyists, thousands of startup companies, fab labs all over the world producing 3D printed products. And the interesting thing about it is you can go up on the Internet of Things and it's free software, so the marginal cost is zero to use it. And then you can use filament or feedstock like recycled plastic, recycled metal, recycled paper, even gravel, and melt it down at very low marginal cost. Then you can power your fab lab with your own green electricity from your consumer cooperative at near zero marginal cost. And if you have surplus green electricity you don't need, you can send it back and share it on an energy internet. And then you can begin to drive your 3D printed products to local markets in your electric vehicles powered by your own green electricity from your local consumer co-op. And within a few years, those vehicles will be driverless with GPS guidance, again, reducing the marginal labor cost. So what we're beginning to see in the fields of renewable energy and 3D printed products is the democratization of energy and the democratization of economic life. So just as we democratized communication in the last 20 years, and hundreds of millions, now billions of people are producing their own video, audio, and text, and have literally created economies of scale that have wreaked havoc on vertically integrated, centralized media companies of the 20th century, we're now seeing that just the early beginnings of a similar democratization of energy with the energy internet and transport and logistics, and most important, 3D printing. So I think what you're doing here today, the fab labs all over the world, the makers movement, is a great economic leap forward where we can begin to narrow the divide between rich and poor, democratize our energy, our manufacturing, our services, head toward near zero marginal cost, and most important, create a sustainable world. Because zero marginal cost is the ultimate metric for efficiency. To be able to produce goods with very little input of material and very little input of labor and energy, and then optimize the output, and then share the 3D printed products on a collaborative commons over and over again so it never goes to the landfill. That creates the circular economy. That's when it's going to allow us to address climate change. And in the process, that extreme productivity of 3D printing is going to allow us to democratize economic life in the developing world and in the industrial world. So I would say congratulations on this conference. It's very exciting for an old man like me, I'm a war baby, to see a younger generation here. I never thought in my lifetime I would see a new economic system emerge onto the center stage. The collaborative commons is here, but we have to be vigilant to make sure we keep net neutrality, we keep the Internet of Things open, and we allow hundreds of millions of people to be able to produce and share physical goods for nearly zero marginal cost, just like we're doing with information and communication. So again, congratulations on your conference, and it's a pleasure to be with you today.